Fuck yeah! It's happening right now, Brown! Let's attack Mr. Brawlhalla! Yes, look at that already. Nice! I love you guys. Look at that. Hello. Sweet, I can see you, Mr. Zeke. Please wait just like 5 seconds. I'm gonna put a little intro and then we will all see your face.
Sounds good.
Awesome people like to be! Welcome to the new episode of Awesome People I'd Like to Be. Today we are with Mr. Zek Sparkes, I hope I pronounced that right, from Brawlhalla. Please, Mr. Zeke, it was a pleasure to meet you on MomoCon. Welcome to the show. Present yourself, present your game. Go ahead, you are in the spotlight for 30 minutes.
Thanks, everybody. This is, like you said, this is Zek Sparkes, also known as Dinohedron. I am the EP on Brawlhalla. And yeah, we met at MomoCon. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you guys had that big booth. I mean, it was huge, like a 20 by 20 with big, like, it was enormous.
Yeah, well, that's the same booth. We take that to all of the conventions. We just kind of, anything that we can throw it in the back of a van and drive it to, we'll use the same booth. So PAX South, PAX East, MomoCon, that's our booth, man.
It all fit in one van? Because it was huge.
Very barely. You gotta stack it just so. There's only, I think, like 2 guys at the company know how it fits. Everybody else, there's no way we'd be able to get it.
So it's like very Tetris-like.
Yeah, basically. And this one, we added the flooring this time. Like we had that the foam tile flooring with like wood grain on the top.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that's going to be able to make it if we're not local.
That's sweet. So I just forgot the name of your company again. I feel terrible. What's the name of your team?
That's okay. Blue Mammoth is the name of the company.
Blue Mammoth. There you go.
Yeah. So we did a 2D side-scrolling MMO. Was our first game called Dungeon Blitz.
Hang on, your first game was a MMO?
Yeah, well, the two founders and myself are all from Cryptic Studios way back in the day. So MMOs are, I've shipped 4.
Okay, so it wasn't like your first one. It was like you had experience in the MMOs.
Yeah. Okay. It was the first one it was 2D though that we did. So that was kind of new and interesting, figuring out how to make a like explorable world that was all on a 2D screen.
Okay.
It was pretty fun. And then when we started messing with adding PvP to it, it was so much fun. We knew it had to be its own game, so that's when we came up with Brawlhalla. Ah,
sweet. So you just like focus on that very mechanic of like beating each other's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Basically, it's kind of a party style, like a platform. It's a platform fighter is the genre that it's in. So you beat each other up, you get more and more damage, and then you can send each other flying off the sides farther and farther. So plays. We've got a weapon system in there, so as you pick up your weapons, it changes your whole moveset out.
Okay.
In mid-game, but yeah.
So yeah, you told me like earlier that you had like items, like specific items in the game. You can give keys to get like custom items and stuff like that in the game. So it's not just like pick a character and get used to this one. You can like equip new stuff on the character, right?
Well, the character, all the items that the character can use are part of that character, so you don't have to like unlock them, and you can't swap out the mechanics of them.
Okay.
We do a lot of custom costumes and stuff. So it's a free-to-play game. So when you get the character, that character, like power-wise, that you've got it. The character is there. You're good to go. But you can change, like, if this character uses hammer and sword, like Bodvar, our main Viking, you can see his kneecap right here.
Sweet.
But you can change like what his hammer looks like or what his sword looks like and kind of what costumes he's got. Yeah.
Gotcha. You cannot put like a lot of money in the game and be the most powerful player against.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's
no
good.
Power.
That is
no
good.
Power.
You've watched my episode and in your face then.
Yeah. I've only watched I think the third one kind of at random. It was good stuff. It was it's all stuff that I pretty much agree with from my experience at Cryptic, nice. Like learning kind of what works and what doesn't for microtrans. It's tricky, but it's really, you can do it really healthy, I think.
Oh, sweet. So how long have you been? I mean, how long is Blue Mammoth existing? That sentence was weird. Sorry, I blame my French brain.
That's fine. Blue Mammoth is, I think, about 6 years.
Okay.
It's been around. We've been working on Brawlhalla for about the past year, kind of full tilt. There was a little bit of ramp-up time coming from one project to the other before that.
Okay.
But yeah, before that, it was, it started super small. Just I wasn't here at the beginning. That was Matt and Lincoln were the two founders that came from Cryptic.
Okay.
Started this up in the Atlanta area. We're all East Coasters, moved out west for the job, and it was great. We loved it, but wasn't home. So it was a chance to kind of get back east and make something happen here. So
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
so Blue Mammoth's been around for a while, and Brawlhalla's been full tilt for a little over a year. I think we showed the first alpha we showed at PAX East 2 years ago, which is actually only a year ago.
Okay.
If that makes sense. The second PAX East to go, which
Gotcha.
is only a year old.
So did you send so since it's like 6 months old, does it mean that you spent like 5 years on that MMO? Or are you still working on it nowadays, or?
Yeah, I think it was. I think the early days was kind of building the engines, and building the technology that led into building them and figuring out what the first game was going to be, and then MMOs are big, so it did take a long time to kind of, especially with a small team, to build that MMO out.
Yeah, how big is your team, by the way?
Now it's 13. When it
13?
just started, it started, it was just the two of them, and then it quickly went to, I think, 4.
Okay.
Was kind of the first little expansion.
Was it Matt and?
Matt and Lincoln, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Matt is like a super huge guy.
Yeah, really
huge
tall.
as your booth.
Really tall. Yeah.
The guy is like bigger than your booth, man.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
Yeah, I remember I made an interview with him, and I was like, literally, like I was 2 steps above on the stair, and I was still smaller than him. It was like, man, I know I'm small, but yeah, that's like.
He winds up telling pretty funny stories about like his wife asking him if he's seen something at the house. I don't remember what it was, but she kept asking him if he'd seen it, and he was like, well, it's where it's always been. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it's on top of the fridge where it's always been. It's never been lost. It's like, well, I know that you can see that just walking into the room, but none of the rest of us can.
The rest of human beings can. Oh man, the guy is huge. Oh, yeah. Sweet. So back to Brawlhalla. So you've been working on that for the past year. Now, is it an alpha? Is it release? Is it where's the state?
It's closed beta on Steam right now. We're getting really close to going open. So it'll be summer that we go open, but sooner rather than later. But it's the core of the game is done. Kind of the last real big features that we have to add. We have to get a nice progression system in there, so you're actually earning stuff as you play. So like basically the core gameplay, like each match is pretty done, and then we'll always be adding more legends and more weapons and more levels and gameplay modes. That's one of the beauties of free-to-play, is we just get to keep going and going.
Okay. But now the core feature is there, and now you're just adding the polish and new content over the next year, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I won't. We'll be adding new content forever, but we'll be done with kind of the bulk of what the game is here pretty soon. And it's kind of we use early access to get the feedback from players. So we're almost done with what we think is right, and we'll put it out there, and then it's up to the community to tell us if we got it right. So that'll kind of determine
And I know that I remember that Matt said very good things about early access. I wanted your opinion on that, actually, because I am stumbling on the same question with my game. So, and every time I ask like, what's your opinion on early access, it goes like all across the board, So I never like got a perfect opinion on that. You should do that and anything. So I'm just like collecting feedback. What do you think about that in early access?
I think you have to have the right attitude for it, and you have to know and be clear about what it is you're trying to get out of it when you get into it. And so I think where people run into trouble is they kind of get into it at the time to do one thing when they're really trying to do another thing, and then it gets really messy and everybody gets confused. So I think you can do everything from kind of saying, hey, this is early access because we don't even know what this game is. Okay. Here's some stuff that we think is fun. What do you guys think? To putting out something where you're like, okay, we think this is the game, tell us, is this, are we right? Is this done? Is this a complete thing? What are the last things we need to tweak? The big thing is you have to be really communicative with the players. So you have to let them know, like, this is what state the game is in, and hey, we're listening to you, we're paying attention, we're taking all your feedback, and even if we aren't, the feedback is valid even if we don't like the solution that's in the feedback, and so we're listening and paying attention, and here's what we're deciding to do. And if you do that, I think it works really well. I think the biggest mistake people make is if they go into it trying to have it be a revenue source as a primary thing. Like, I know, like
they consider it as a pre-order or something like that, and then they leave it there, and that's it.
If you do that, I think the game pretty much has to be done before you do it, and then it's kind of like maybe a pre-order or a demo sort of thing, and I think that can work. But if you kind of go into it in like, this is what's going to keep us alive while we finish the game, that's where I think you start getting into trouble, because then you're making decisions based on and some people get into a situation where maybe you have to do that, and so it doesn't mean it's going to be. I don't think that's where the strength of early access is. So I think that you wind up making decisions instead of using it as how do you finish the game, how do you polish the game, you wind up making decisions based on finances instead. And
but the way I see it is like it's a big statement. When you just like open the door for early access, it's just not a switch that you put over there and that's it. You leave it there. You just as you said, you have to make updates. You have to be there with you. You basically need like another guy just to handle other community, and talk with everybody. So it adds a layer of work. So it's more like that. Yeah, we should see it then.
It's that's the same thing with going into Kickstarter. You have to think about it that same way, right? Like it's not and then people will be interested and maybe they'll fund it and it'll be kind of this way to get some cash infusion. No, it's a job. You're adding a job to the studio when you decide to do something like Kickstarter.
Good point. I like that. Good point.
And so you gotta. But it's same, like you said, it's the same thing for early access. It's you can't just like do it and put it out there and be like, and then it'll sort itself out. You gotta.
I want to be rich.
You've gotta put resources into making sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Nice. I want to get back to the team. You said you were 13 people. So what's this basically like? Your guy? Is it like mostly coders, mostly artists, community guy?
It's about half and half coders and artists.
Okay.
And then. At this size of team, everybody is basically a game developer first. So you do kind of everything. I mean, it's kind of terrifying, but every now and then I actually do code, which I came from a game design background. Did some scripting beforehand, but not real coding. But every now and then, there's something I can throw in and help with. So everybody does a little bit of everything, but primarily there's about half of the people are like real strong, solid primary coders or programmers. About half of them are pretty much dedicated to like the server structure because it's an online game.
All the backends and stuff.
And so we do a lot of work to try to make it as lag free as possible and as playable across countries as we can. So there's a lot there. And then the other half are kind of like gameplay programmers, so they're doing like levels and helping with powers. and then for art, it's kind of split between about half are like illustrators, and do the character art and the level art, and then about half are animators and do either character animation or FX. We have a lot of 2D effects in the game. So,
do you have any community guy in the game? In the team?
We spread it around. It takes out a pretty big hunk of my day. So. I'm our executive producer, so I kind of try to keep everything rolling, and a lot of that falls onto my plate then. Because most of the other guys are pretty like critical on one thing that they're doing, and once I help make sure we're on the right track and everything, I can kind of pull back and let the guys do their thing. And so then I kind of jump on whatever fire there is, or hop onto the community, or get hooked up with awesome guys like you.
You're the awesome people I'd like to be. It's written right there, like under my finger right there.
Yesterday I was. We do our stream every Tuesday, and we've been using your giveaway tool, which everybody loves. Even though I think I made their ears bleed the first time because I didn't know what the sound effect was.
That's a
but
bad idea.
I warned him I didn't know how loud it was. But I think like all day yesterday I was like, yeah, I'll get to go on Lachh's stream and talk about how much I like his tool. But there's got to be a better way to say that.
Well, now you just did.
Yeah, I know. It's still
Sweet. Nice. So I was asking about the community actually, with the early access and everything. I want to continue on that. When you talk to the community, do you talk like under the Brawlhalla brand, or you say like, hi, I'm Matt from Brawlhalla and I'm Zeke, and everybody like I'm this guy from the team?
Yeah, we just talk as individuals, and we're all on Steam. And so we're just using our Steam names. I even made the decision when I moved out here. This is Cryptic is a much bigger studio, and so I always had a Cryptic Steam account or a Cryptic Skype account, and I made the decision when I came out here, I'm just going to use that's my Steam account.
Yeah.
So when I post as Dinohedron, that's me. That's if I'm playing. I was hooked on Massive Chalice all weekend. So you can see me in there playing Massive Chalice, and that's the same account that I use to post. So we don't use like a blanket Brawlhalla account or anything like that. It's us as individual devs, and
I think that's a good plan actually.
Yeah.
Sorry I cut you, but I remember that with Berserk Studio, we always like to talk with the Berserk Studio brand, and that's it. But people ended up thinking that we were a company of 70 people or something. They thought that we were a big corporation. It was like, no, we're just 3 dudes in their basement making games, and that's it. You know. And now I'm like, I work on the brand of Lachh. Like I'm Lachh from Berserk Studio and everything, and I think that it adds a layer of personality to your team as well. So
that's it. For us to be. I think for free to play to work and for early access to work, it's all about being as transparent as you can. And so we were just like, hey, you get on and talk. You know, you don't have to check to see what you're posting, or if somebody's posting something, get in and ask about it. And just use your name and just be a good, polite person, and you're good to go. I mean, we even on the stream when we do our dev stream, we try to not be guarded or like kind of, say, oh, well, this could be in, or there's kind of just a blanket statement that, well, we're talking about stuff that's in development. So sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't, but we want to talk about it. We don't want to hide it and like wait until we're certain it's going to be in there or anything. So
it's okay to see to say that, oh, I'm not sure, or oh, I made a mistake, that was a bad idea. It's okay to say that. It makes you more transparent, and also it makes other people see what are the creative process behind the game. It's okay to make a mistake in the game. You don't just like wake up one morning and say, I know exactly every line of code in my game, and then you put it up right there. So yeah, I think it's good to also teach other game developers for that.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's it makes the game stronger too. When we first started, we thought we had it solved. We thought it was all about the weapon swapping, and so your characters, like, you could kind of make your character look however you wanted your character to look, and each character was exactly the same, and they would pick up any of the weapons in the game, and they could use them, and that was it. We solved it. We were good to go. And once we got people in, they were saying, yeah, but the characters don't really mean anything. There's not enough that differentiates them. We want the characters to be kind of cool and meaty. And so we were like, oh, okay, well, let's rethink it. And it was a really hard process, and we asked really tough questions about what the game was. And in the end, we said, okay, well, characters can't use every weapon. What weapons the character uses helps define the character, and then we'll give them a couple special moves, and we'll make sure that, like, stats. We had stats before, but you couldn't really feel them, so we re-engineered them so that you could feel them in game. And
that's a bold move. Those are big decisions right there.
Yeah, it was. And if we hadn't been open and honest with the community and listening, we probably wouldn't have figured that out. We would have launched with what we had at the beginning, and the game wouldn't be half as good. So
because I believe that at PAX East, like not this one but the other one, I went and played Brawlhalla, and I think that the demo was like you could pick weapons over there.
Yep, that's
nice.
right.
Okay, so we may have met already like a year ago.
Yeah, I wasn't in that one, but there was a good group of the guys went, and that's exactly it. That was the first time we showed it.
Okay.
And it was the feedback. it was the feedback from that we changed it into what we are now.
I think you were near the team meet and BMOF.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Nice, 10 points for me. Good.
Yeah, good memory.
All right. Well, last comes question from the audience. Actually, I've been not looking at the audience for a while. Sorry, guys. If you guys have any question for Mr. Zeke here from Brawlhalla, please say "Dear Lachhh" and something like a question. So I'm gonna start with Mr. Luke. What was the most challenging part of the development, and what did you learn from it?
Ooh. Well, I don't want to use the same. I would say the most challenging is the thing that I just talked about, but I don't want to use that one because we just talked about it. So let's see. Second most challenging thing in development was getting the physics right. So in a fighting game, how you move is like critical. It's I mean in almost every game how you move is critical, but especially in a fighting game. And one of the biggest problems that we had was we wanted to get really good aerial play. We wanted you to be able to recover from far away. We wanted you to be able to fight in the air. And getting that to feel right without it feeling like floaty and slow, like there was no gravity, was huge. And one of the hardest things that we had to deal with was the feedback that you get, figuring out what it actually means. So we got, for instance, we got a lot of feedback that said we want fast falling in. So if you hold down, you will fall faster out of the sky. It would have been really easy to just add fast falling. And I mean, we tried it internally and be like, okay, well now you can do that. But instead, what we wound up doing was thinking about, well, why do they want that? Why do people always say they want fast falling? What is it that makes you want that? And so we looked at all of the places where people were using it. Because every time we added it, it seemed like you either just always had it on or you had it off. And so, like, to get to one part that we found, just kind of as one example, when we dug down, it was the physics being true physics for when you get to the top of the jump winds up feeling really slow, especially if you want decent air time. So you get to the top of the jump and it hangs and it hangs and then it starts accelerating down.
You have to cheat a lot to make it more beautiful, right?
Yeah, so we did a lot. So when you get to that top, we kind of accelerate you over that lip. And so you don't actually wind up falling any faster, but you accelerate faster at certain points. And then it started feeling good and getting what we were after.
That's very interesting. I mean, I love how you said, like, instead of just implementing the features that they want, we were going to say, why do they want that? Because it's their solution to a problem. So instead of just implementing the solutions, and we're going to see what was the problem in the first place. So I really love that part.
And I say the same thing when we're talking to the team. I say, like, when we tell somebody something's wrong and this is how we should fix it, that's usually what we're saying is, this is how I think it would solve what I think is the problem. So use it as more of like a diagnosis tool than an actual roadmap to fixing the thing, right?
Yeah, gotcha. Ah, sweet. Super interesting, man. Okay, next. How was it when you started up? Were you always working full-time? By Mr. Is Following.
Yeah, more than. I wasn't here at the very beginning of the studio.
Okay.
When I got into the industry with Cryptic, which was already established, I was working just nonstop trying to get caught up to speed and make sure I was doing everything right and learn as much as I could. But the same when you have a startup, when you have a small company, there's stuff that has to get done. Yeah. There's only a certain number of people that can get it done. So there was a lot of late nights in basements, and we do pretty well now. We schedule pretty well. Yeah. And every now and then, when we've got a big patch or something, we have to burn the midnight oil. Or when we put a patch up, more often what happens is we put a patch up and something isn't quite right on the servers. And so then we just stay until it's fixed. We want people to be able to play and have fun. Yeah, so that's usually where the extra hours come in now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, what I often say to that question is, it's basically the same thing. I mean, when you start, you're gonna work like 50 or 60 hours a week because you're starting a company. I mean, you're just not starting an indie life, you're starting a company. So if you were like to make, I don't know, like taxi company, for example, you will be working 60 hours for driving to pay your car and everything, and you will be working hard a lot for a long time without having any money for a very long time. So starting an indie life is basically just like starting a new company, you know. So at the beginning it's really hard, but then you go to a cruise where you can, you know, work at 40 hours a week. So.
Yeah, and the great thing is that you're also like, you're the one deciding what you get to do, right? Like that's one of the things that's super exciting is when you have a small group of people, it's like you can all kind of figure out, okay, what is it that we all want to do, and we're the ones that get to decide that. So it's, you know, it's not without the rewards, but it's tough at the beginning. It is.
Sweet. All right, we got another question by Alucard J. I want to know all your secrets. What engine? How did you manage depth sorting, physics, and networking?
Okay, so
there you go. I'm pissed off.
So all the secrets, I'll hit most of the secrets.
Yep.
We don't really have secrets. The engine. So the two founders, Matt and Lincoln, are extremely strong programmers.
Okay.
And so they built our engine. They just said that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build it. We use a lot of you'll love it. We are kindred spirits. We do a lot of the front end stuff in Flash since we do 2D animation. So a lot of the rendering goes through that pipeline. But all of the back end stuff is some flavor of C. I don't remember which one we use because I don't pay attention. I don't actually do the code. So. For networking, we took the GGDP. Is that right? GGPO?
I never did some networking.
It's a rollback system.
Okay, nice.
I can't believe I can't remember the
I'm gonna put a link to it, like when I put the montage on YouTube. So you can tell me like after the interview, I'll put a little link on the.
There you go. Well, it's our own version because since we know. That's right. I don't pay attention, blind eye. But I saw that. We did I think it's GGPO. I think that's right. We did our own version of it. But it's the same philosophy where it's a rollback system where both clients think they know what's going on and it checks with the server. And if something's out of sync, the client will actually roll back and replay to catch up to where it's supposed to be. Okay. So you'll see teleporting if you have a bad connection sometimes. We also we add input delay to the person who has the bad lag, which means that we don't have to roll back as often. So there's a certain amount of threshold where, depending on your connection, we will actually wait before we take your commands. And so what that does is it makes it so that the lag doesn't penalize the non-lagging players. Okay. So we've done a lot of there. You know, maybe we'll get the programmers to do a kind of write-up on everything. Okay. There's a link where we describe it pretty well, not like a white paper description of it, but it describes kind of the approach to it pretty well.
Okay, sweet. Again, I'm going to put a link right over there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Under my fingers. Sweet, I mean. Nice. Okay, next question by Mr. Dimsuki. I always messed up your name. Sorry, man. Dimsuki. Were you guys inspired by Smash? And if you were, was it in a competitive sense or just as a party game?
Definitely, and both.
Next question.
We're big fighting game fans, so we're inspired by a lot of fighting games, and it's clear that we're in the same genre as Smash. It's past the fighting mechanic, like the knockout mechanic. Most of the rest of it is kind of, what we see as being fun, where we want to see that genre go. Mm-hmm. And I would say that especially one of the things that is inspirational to us from Smash is that it is a party game, and it is accessible to everybody. I mean, everybody's played it. It's just so much fun, but it's also got crazy long depth, so it's very competitive. And so we like both of those aspects and are trying to make sure that we keep both of those in our game, that anybody can just walk up and play with your friends, but also if you want to sit down and you want to master this game, there's meaty depth in there, and it's going to take you a long time. And some of the players, we've got a competitive scene that's already pulling itself up, that's organizing tournaments and stuff. And watching
already talking about esports.
Yeah, I mean, we had an ESL Community Cup that went really well just recently. Nice. So So yeah, we hope it catches fire. And
I'm gonna slow tap on respect on this. I mean, you guys are still in early access, so you're already talking about esports.
That's right.
That's the spirit, man. That's great.
But not to force it. If people there, the community's there and it's building, we want to support it and make it go, and we hope it takes off.
Yeah.
So yeah, watching them play, some of the stuff they do is just sick.
That's great. I mean, I love when I see that. Like, for example, you make a game, you think you're good at it because you made a game, so you know every single corner about it, and then you put it online and you see people playing it, and like, what the hell? How do you do that? And they spend like, I don't know, many hours on it and everything, and you get surprised by other people beating your own game. Like, but I created that. I'm supposed to be the master.
I'd say,
how dare you?
I'd say it took like 2 months. It took about 2 months before the community found people that were just crushing us. It was pretty good for the first 2 months. But
I love to do that at PAXs and at convention, actually. Like, go to other people's booth and just like smash the high score like for a while. I ended up beating it was Gridmaster. It was at MomoCon. And like my second game, I bought a developer, and I beat the developer, and like I had 2 extra life left. It was like, how did you do that? I said, well, now you remember me. My name is Lachhh. Bye. So that's how I do PR.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right, so I got another question by Dev Midgard. Why do you develop Okay, you're gonna like it. Why do you develop games? What's the main reason? Money or passion?
Passion, without doubt. That's easy. I mean, it's
that's an easy one.
Yeah, it really is. I love games. I always have. Before I did computer games, I worked for pen and paper game companies doing like RPGs and CCGs and board games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I always worked like my first job was working in a hobby store that sold games. I've grown up with games. I love them so much. They're always it's this cool. They're 2 things that I think is really awesome. It's a world. It's its own like contained world that people get to kind of get in. Even the really simple games are a world of a sort. Yeah. And it's a puzzle that you have to figure out at some level. And so you kind of get to, when you're building it, you get to create this world that people get to explore and figure out what is it that you put in there, what are the tricks, and you also, I love seeing people break the stuff that there's stuff that happens that you just never ever would have imagined, and when you get thousands and thousands of people in there playing, you just see some really cool stuff.
Yeah, passion is definitely. I mean, if you want to start game development because of the money, you should get out right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as I often say, I'm a coder, and if I just raise my hand, stop making games, and find a job, I'm gonna like triple my salary. It's like, we are not greedy bastards. I know if you read internet comments, especially when you do free to play content, you must be getting those. I mean, people call you greedy bastard and stuff like that. But you're like, well, I'm not greedy. I'm just like, I cut my salary in half to make what I love.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's definitely a work of passion for sure.
Sorry, we got invaded.
That's okay. I've got 2. I mean, they're not here at the office, but
okay.
I understand.
I got invaded by my little kid. Okay, you give me back my iPad. That's done. Okay. Okay. Now, next question by R2 Robot. How does monetization figure into the design process of the game? Do you design a game and then figure out how to monetize it, or the other way around?
Well, you have to keep it in mind, but when you have an approach to free to play like we do, that I think is a very healthy approach. The best way to monetize the game is to make the best damn game you can. Because the strength of the model is that everybody can play it, and if everybody is playing it and having fun, then you can figure out what the cool bells and whistles are that you can add that people are going to want to invest in. So especially with a cosmetic style system, right? Like the number one thing is that our game is just super fun to get into, and it's super fun to play, and you fall in love with the game. And so there are systems of free-to-play monetization where you do consciously think about making the game mechanics different in order to monetize them. That's not really what we like. So like I said, we're in the middle of adding progression, so you earn your characters. So we're doing kind of like a rotating unlock system similar to League. but you earn the characters in game. And the goal of that system is not how do we make people buy characters. The goal of that system is it's fun to get stuff and to earn things while you're playing. So how do we provide that experience? So you can look at those numbers two different ways. You can look at those numbers as how do we make those numbers something that makes you want to buy stuff? And that's not what we do. We look at those numbers as how do we make those numbers something that keeps you engaged in the game and keeps you interested in coming back. So it is kind of, you have to think about it. And so we knew from the beginning that we would want to be making skins for characters, that we would want to, different weapons that you get, that we would want to make skins for those. So those are the kinds of things that we think about. But whenever we think about gameplay, whenever we think about when you sit down to play, we don't care if you're paying us money or not. We want it to be an awesome experience.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but I made an episode on that actually, on microtransaction, like 3 rules of thumbs for freemiums. And my first rule was the game should be fun for even if you don't pay.
Yeah.
Like, it's a simple rule, but it's the first rule. You don't have to make like, okay, only if you pay it's gonna be fun. That's like nobody's gonna pay it because like. No, it's like cheating or something. And you have to always focus about giving a good time to player first, and then you can ask them for money, And they'll be like, yes, take my money, please, take all my money. They'll be pleased to do it, So totally agree with that.
I couldn't agree more. It's like I said, there's other ways to do it. We don't like those ways.
All right, we got one last question, and then I'm gonna close the interview, my friend. Not taking too much of your time. We got my Quackle McDuck saying, "What's the name of Brawlhalla inspired by the northern mythology Valhalla?"
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh sweet! I don't even know about that. So
yeah, well, the backstory. The story is basically that everybody's in Valhalla, but the Valhalla is not just Norse warriors and badasses. It's everyone from everywhere, and we've even got like an alien in there, and. It's clear Ragnarok hasn't happened yet, so these guys are bored. And what are the best warriors going to do? They're bored. They're going to organize a tournament to beat each other up. So.
That's the kind of story I like.
Yeah.
The 5-second story, like, okay, we got those guys beating each other up. We need a reason. Yeah. Well, because they want it.
It's kind of fun because we get to craft like each of their backgrounds to be sort of like, well, what made them like crazy and cool, and even some of them weren't like traditional. Bodvar, our marquee Viking, like he didn't ever actually die. Like he started getting worried because he would do all these awesome things and he could never die in battle. So he like walks up to Valhalla, finds a way to get to the doors of Valhalla and like kicks them in to join because he doesn't want to miss out. So we get to come up with like these really cool stories for each of the characters.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think can I squeeze another one? Hang on.
For sure. Yeah, I'm having a blast.
Okay, sweet. Okay, we got one last question then. Another last question. While coding a game, does everyone have their own style, or is it a set layout that everyone should use?
Like as far as like the setup for your system, everybody has their own style. Okay. At least for us.
Okay.
So I mean, we all use the same program to code in, but we've got, there's a bunch of people that swear by flux so that their screen is less eye strain. There's everybody's got their own like specific. One of our combat programmers has a very specific like the background color is this hex value and this type of line is this hex value and this type of line is this hex value. So everybody kind of has their own setup, but we do all work the same programs, the same files. We use a version control system so that we can pass things back and forth or work on them at the same time without stomping each other.
I guess you have like naming conventions that you have your own stuff like this, or more or less.
We should have a naming convention. we generally do, but stuff goes a little sideways from time to time.
I can relate on that. Sweet. Okay, then I think it's gonna be the end of the interview. It's already 30 minutes, man. It was great. It was an interesting conversation, man.
Super fun.
With you, man, it was great. And I think that you mentioned something about giving away something.
Oh yeah.
Please present your stuff. Present your treats to our audience.
We've got 3 things that we'll raffle off. Of course, hopefully with the amazing tool.
Of course, if there's explosion, I'm in.
Yeah. So what we're giving away is we've got a weapons called a rocket lance. We've got a sort of volcanic magma skin for that we're gonna raffle off. Then we've got a Minotaur character named Taros, and we've got like a punk rock skin for him that we'll raffle off. And then sort of the king of our treats is we have a salty taunt, so salty taunt that we'll raffle off. You just bring out a big salt shaker and pour salt on it. So
that's great.
Each of those will come with a beta key too. So if you don't have the game, definitely get in the raffle and
okay, nice. Okay, so yeah, right after the interview, then I'm gonna start the giveaway. So I'm gonna pop your trailer actually. Please send the trailer. I can link to a trailer in the chat, so I can link that, and then we're gonna watch your trailer just before the giveaways, and then we'll do that. So thank you very much, Zeke. It was an amazing conversation, man. I did learn a lot of stuff, man. We definitely have to do that again.
Yeah, anytime. I want
to raid you every week.
Yeah, do it
while you're sleeping and everything. Like, what's happening now? Like, oh, what's happening? All right, man. Thank you very much for being on the show, man. Zeke. It was an amazing time. Thank you very much, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
All right, sweet. Bye.